Star Wars Jedi Survivor, everything we know. First of all, Merry Christmas to you all. I really wanted to get this video out before I went away on a little Christmas break. And in this video, I wanted to basically give you a full overview over the game in terms of release date, release editions, pre-order bonuses, story, gameplay mechanics, and such. And I've dug through all the interviews, trailers, articles, and all that kind of stuff and tried to congest it down to one video. So if you want to introduce someone to the game, this should be the perfect video for you, as I don't imagine we will learn much more about this game until potentially March next year when we are a little bit closer to the release. So first of all, let's get the basics out of the way. Star Wars Jedi Survivor releases on March 17th next year on the PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S, and PC. So it's not being released on old generation consoles, which means it will probably look a lot better and have better graphics than the previous game. It's released in two editions, the normal edition for $69.99 or the deluxe edition for $89.99, which includes two cosmetic packs, the Galactic Hero cosmetic pack with Han Solo's outfit and blaster, as well as a skin for BD1, and also the new Hero cosmetic pack, which has Luke's yellow jacket from A New Hope, his lightsaber, as well as an R2-D2 skin for BD1. There is also a pre-order bonus for both editions where you will get Obi-Wan's hermit outfit, lightsaber, and a combustion blaster set. There is actually also a collector's edition, which as far as I can tell is almost sold out already, for $299.99, which includes a replica of Cal's lightsaber hilt, a magnetic box, a steel book, and more. So what about the actual setting of the game? Well, Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order was set 14 years before the Battle of Yavin, which means 5 years after the Revenge of the Sith. Star Wars Jedi Survivor is set another 5 years after the previous game, 9 years before the Battle of Yavin. So pretty much right in between Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope. It's also the same year that the Obi-Wan Kenobi show took place, so there has been a little bit of speculation if he might show up, although I think that's quite unlikely. So let's move over a little bit to the story now. It will be mostly facts, but also a little bit of speculation since we obviously don't know everything about the story. So what about the crew from the first game? Well, it seems like Cal and BD1 are gonna be a little bit more solo in this game. For instance, we can see them flying and crashing the Mantis alone. We do, however, meet Seer later in the trailer, who seems to be hiding in some type of library or archive, which could potentially be a new home base for us, even if it seems like we won't be traveling with her. She also says that he has become the most wanted since they met, meaning that they have probably been away from each other for quite a while. But what about Merrin or Grease, who I was personally very excited to see in the game? Well, they are in neither of the trailers, so we really don't know what has happened to them. However, something I want to bring up here is that there is a novel called Star Wars Jedi Battle Scars, which releases March 7th, 10 days before the game, which is actually set the years in between the two games. And on the cover you can obviously see Merrin and Grease, so my guess is that this novel will give us an explanation to what happened to them. I don't think they're gonna kill them off in a book between the games. That would be a little bit strange in my opinion, but at least it might give us an explanation to where they are. I also want to mention that if you guys want to get this book completely free as an audiobook, you can follow my Audible trial link in the description below. You can sign up for the trial, claim the pre-order, and even if you cancel the trial and don't pay a single dollar, you will still keep that pre-order and get the book once it arrives on March 7th. So a fantastic deal for you, free book, and you greatly support the channel by signing up through that link as well. So what about the antagonist or villain in the game? Well, the biggest theory is that the Bacta tank guy is gonna be the main villain based on his appearance in the trailer. He actually seems to be a High Republic Jedi getting awakened. You can see this based on his yellow robes in this scene, which is very reminiscent of how the Jedi dressed in the High Republic era, which was also kind of hinted on Twitter by Matt Martin from Lucasfilm as well. This could potentially mean that he has been asleep for over 100 years and gets waken up either by Cal or by someone else. I'm guessing Cal might wake him up by mistake, or waking up thinking that he might be an ally, but it turns out he's actually a villain. I think this guy is gonna play a big role as well. We can see him both in this scene with some type of bounty hunter-like enemy and with this High Republic Jedi. And the biggest theory right now is that this is actually a Gendai, a species not currently in canon, but who can live pretty much forever and regenerate limbs, making them very hard to kill. Dirge, a known bounty hunter, is of the same species. So if they bring them into canon, that would be very cool. And it would also explain why this guy could potentially know a Jedi that has been asleep for over 100 years, since he himself can live pretty much forever. Other antagonists and villains we could see is the guy in the first trailer, who is described as a Pauan Imperial Senator who actually buys Cal's reforged lightsaber. So he might be an overarching important villain who will be pulling the strings throughout all of the story, or he might just be a little side thing that we will only interact with in a small part of the game. That is tricky to say, but hopefully it at least means that we will be able to play a little bit on Coruscant. The first trailer also shows a hooded enemy with a red lightsaber, and the second trailer shows a masked guy with an orange lightsaber. Both of these are very brief appearances, so I don't think they are going to be main villains, but probably more of a side enemy, a little bit like Taron Malicos in the first game. Another important character in this game is Bode Akuna. He's actually a new ally who we get a bit more of a description of in an interview where they say Bode and Cal form a special bond, almost like they're brothers. Bode plays a role as a buddy AI character who aids in both combat and traversal. And based off the trailer, it seems like you can pull off some pretty cool combos with him, which sounds very cool. I doubt he's gonna follow along the majority of the missions, considering it looks like Cal is alone most of the time, but at least in some sections of the game you will have Bode as your buddy AI character. They also say in the interview that the planet we see in the Jedi Survivor gameplay trailer is completely new to Star Wars. It will be a central proving ground and place of exploration alongside visits to other planets, which basically confirms that we are getting a brand new planet introduced to Star Wars, but we will also be returning to known planets, which I think sounds like a very good balance. You can also see in the background of the trailer that you will be playing on a planet with a crashed Lucrehulk core ship, and it also looks like we eventually head inside this crashed core ship when we start fighting the separatist droids that I will get to in a second. So now over to the gameplay section of the game, which we know a fair bit about. First of all, in terms of movement, Respawn has said in interviews that Jedi Survivor embraces new traversal mechanics, allowing for much greater flexibility in exploration. That includes using an ascension cable for climbing and crossing distant points, and the ability to tame and ride mounts. It's a wider Metroidvania, and we can obviously see in the trailer that Cal is able to tame both flying and ground mounts, and also attack with his lightsaber while he's on those ground mounts. A very interesting part are the different stances in the game. The previous game had basically single-bladed lightsaber combat or dual-bladed lightsaber combat, one of which was better for dueling and the other one for multiple enemies. They have confirmed that the new game is going to have 5 different stances, one of which is a double-bladed lightsaber stance, which is more acrobatic, jumping and spinning around. A heavy stance, using the cross-bladed lightsaber we can see in the trailer, and also a stance where you wield a lightsaber and blaster at the same time, which we haven't seen yet, but we can see the blaster in the main cover art. Those are the 3 they confirmed, but I would imagine that the last 2 stances will be a simple single-bladed lightsaber stance, as well as a dual-wielding lightsaber stance, which we also see in the trailer. They mentioned that it's up to us to pick which stance we want to use for specific enemies, and there will probably be 1 or 2 stances that will be especially effective for each enemy, meaning that we are gonna have to do a lot of stance switching to get through the game the most efficient way. I'm sure you can just plow through the entire game with your favorite stance as well, but if you want to play on the higher difficulties, it might be important to swap to the appropriate stance in each fight. So what about the enemies? Well, on top of the main villains I talked about earlier, we will have a return of Imperial enemies like Scout Troopers, K2 droids, and they're also introducing Imperial Sentry droids, as we can see. But a big addition to the game are the Separatist droids, Magna Guards, BX Commando droids, B1 battle droids, and B2 super battle droids. They seem to have been taken over and reprogrammed to some degree, considering we can see the B1 droids with some type of melee weapon. So I am very curious to see what we're gonna be able to find on this planet with all of these Separatist droids, the Lucrehulk core ship, and more. Lastly, of course, we are getting the return of a lot of creatures, like a Wampa on a non-snow planet, as well as this orange dinosaur-like thing. But I am, however, happy that they seem to be leaning more towards Imperials and Separatist droids and not only having us mindlessly kill creatures, as it doesn't feel very Jedi-like to me, and the first game had almost too much creatures. Even if I'm glad that they're keeping some of them in the game, obviously. But that is pretty much all we know about the game right now when it comes to gameplay, story, release date, release editions, and all that kind of stuff. I'm sure we will learn some more smaller things the closer we get to launch, but hopefully they want to keep most of the story secret before we actually get to experience it, to make sure that we are in for some big surprises. If you guys enjoyed the video, make sure to hit that subscribe button for more things Star Wars Jedi Survivor and other Star Wars games, and don't forget to pick up that free Star Wars Jedi Battle Scars audiobook if you want to, as it will probably be a really good connector between the two games to span those 5 years and hopefully learn what happened to Merrin and Grease. Thank you very much for watching, and as always, may the Force be with you.